Hey guys, Mr. LeMaster here, your fire science teacher. Today we're going to talk about something very important, some fire safety tips in the home. Cooking fires are one of the leading causes of residential structure fires in the nation. Fire departments respond to over 170,000 calls per year around the United States for fires involving cooking equipment. I'm going to show you some safety tips here. First of all, just talk about my setup here, and then we're going to move outside and I'll show you a demonstration with putting out a fire involving hot grease. First of all, when you're cooking in the stove or in the kitchen, you want to make sure that you keep an area open in front of the stove. Make sure that no small kids are playing around the stove. You want to keep a 3-foot zone in front of the stove. You want to make sure that you don't have anything flammable laying near the stove top. And this includes oven mitts, wooden spoons, packing from the food that you're preparing. Just make sure that your countertop and area around the stove is clear of anything that might catch on fire. If you're using portable cooking devices, such as this toaster right here, you want to make sure that the cord is in good shape. You want to make sure that there's not any paper products in there or anything that could catch fire once the toaster starts to heat up. Okay, back to the stove here. So you always want to cook with a lid near your pot of whatever it is that you're cooking. If there's a fire, and we'll show you this in just a few minutes, if there's a fire, you can always contain the fire by simply covering whatever it is that's burning. So we'll show you more on that in just a few minutes. If there is a fire in your oven, you want to make sure that you keep the door shut, because the air can let the fire grow. So keep that door shut and make sure you turn the oven off. I have my son here. He is with the local fire department, and he's going to help us with our demonstration today and offer us some additional tips. Josh?
That's really good points that you're making. I want to note, if you do have a fire or something like that, whether it's on the stovetop or in the oven, like he said, either put the lid on it or close the door. Because on these incidents that we respond on, when the homeowner does that, they follow those steps, they cover it, they call us, which would be 911, and then they exit the house. A lot of the times, if you cover it, it will be completely snuffed out by the time that we get there, and there's no harm or anything to the kitchen. There might be some light smoke damage or something like that, but fire needs oxygen to grow and to develop, and when you put the lid on it or close the oven, it doesn't get that oxygen, and it completely burns itself out. So that was a really good tip. And like he said, cut the power to it, turn the oven off, whatever, like that, and then remove yourself from the equation. So many times we've seen people that are injured or get seriously burned because they want to stay and they want to try to fight it or something like that. The best thing to do in one of these instances is to cover it, exit your home, and call 911. Even if you can't cover it or something like that, your life is worth so much more than these cabinets or this microwave or something like that. It's really not a good idea to try to handle it yourself. Call us and we'll get there hastily, and we can put a handle on it.
No, that's a great point. You know, the bottom line is, when you're cooking, you want to pay attention. You want to be safe. Don't cook if you're sleepy. Don't cook if you've got a lot of things going on around the house right now. You have to stay in the room when you're cooking. Anytime you're using a cooking device, whether it be the stove, something portable, you always want to stay in the room whenever you're cooking. And again, keep your stove area free from clutter, and just make this a safe area to prepare food. We're going to move outside in just a few minutes, and I want to show you a demonstration out there about how this grease can get out of hand and what to do if it does catch on fire and get out of hand. Thanks. Okay guys, we've moved outside for our demonstration. I set this up out here because I want to show you the importance and why you should never use water to put out a grease fire. Please don't try this at home. You don't need to try this to prove this fact that you don't use water to put out a grease fire. I brought my pot from the stove out here. There's a little bit of oil in there. We've been heating it up for a few minutes. This oil temperature has to get to between 350 and 375 degrees to cook food. So it's a very high temperature. Even if it stays in the pot, it can be very dangerous when you're cooking with hot oil. So we're going to be very cautious here. Josh is going to assist me again. He has full protective gear on, and I'm going to show you just a little demonstration here of why we do not put water on a grease fire. There's nothing on fire right now, but as you may know, water and grease don't play nice. He's going to put a little bit of water in there, and you're going to see the reaction of the water and the hot oil. And if this was on your stove inside of your house, why things could quickly get out of hand. Again, we're keeping our lid close here because the easiest way to extinguish a fire on a stove, if your grease gets too hot and catches on fire, is simply to cover the fire. And then you shut the stove off and allow that to cool down completely before you take the lid off again. But Josh is going to show us just a little demonstration. I'm going to back up a little bit. We have our fire extinguisher ready. He's going to put a little bit of oil in there, and you're going to see why we don't use water to put out a grease fire. Okay? Anything you want to add to that, Josh?
No, that's correct. One thing I'm going to do before we start is from the go, I'm going to actually turn the flame off before I pour the water in there, because like we said, when you have a fire or something like that in a pot, you want to cover it, turn your power off, and exit the house. So before we even get started, I'm going to go ahead and turn the power off, or turn the flame off. Then that's going to help us from the jump, make sure that we don't have anything. And like he said, you know, we've got our protective equipment and our fire extinguisher and stuff like that. And one thing that I want to note, there's probably about a cup of oil in there, and I've only got about 1 or 2 tablespoons of water. I do not have a lot of water. So if you were to take a full, like even this coffee cup right here, if you were to dump that in there, that would be a lot of water. So if you're ready, we can. And
again, we're not demonstrating how to put out a grease fire. We're demonstrating why you shouldn't use water.
That's correct. So I'm going to come in first. I'm going to turn our flame off first. So our flame is off. Our grease is still plenty hot. And like I said, I've only got about 2 tablespoons of water in here. And if I pour it in, immediately how crazy that is. Just 2 tablespoons of water to about a cup of grease. Like we said, go ahead and cover it. Remove your power and exit the house. And just like that, if there's a fire in there, it's gonna snuff itself out. You're safe. But you can see there's grease all over this table right now. So if I would have been up here, if I would have taken that full cup and dumped it in there, and I wouldn't have had this protective gear on, that could have very well burned me very, very greatly. That would have been very, very bad for me. So
again, the normal operating temperature for the grease to cook food is 350 to 400 degrees. If it's on fire, it's going to be even hotter than that. If we throw water on a burning grease fire, it's going to be all over you. It's going to be all over your kitchen, cabinets, everywhere. This is a recipe for disaster. So we hope that you have seen through this demonstration why we do not want to put water on burning grease fire. Thanks, and stay safe.